Hey guys, new video coming at you. This is the Kizer Cormorant. This is the Gen 2 version of the knife. Just adjust this. Yeah, I've been waiting for a while for this to come out. I was interested in the Gen 1 when it came out because the specs on it, as in like the features, on paper make it seem like one of the fidgetiest knives out there, if not the fidgetiest. And it may be. The Gen 1 was hard to find. I think they only made a couple of runs of it. So if you want to buy one on eBay, you know, they're selling for more than MSRP, like most things these days, I guess, in spring 2022. But the differences between this, the Gen 2, and the Gen 1 were the button on the Gen 1. This is a button lock knife. The button was a little farther up. It was almost directly below the pivot pin from this point of view. The scales looked a little different. They had X's instead of straight lines. And by all accounts, it had a lighter detent. And I think based on, you know, what I read on Reddit threads and reviews and such online, the detent was a little bit too light on the Gen 1, and this one's a little heavier. In fact, I commented on Dr. EDC's Instagram page when he first posted details about this knife and asked about the detent, and he said it was a bit heavier. He may have even given a percentage. I'll try to check that out. But to me, it does feel great. This is an S35 VN knife, and everything about it's great. I wouldn't say it's my favorite knife, but it is quite possibly the fidgetiest. So probably the first thing that you guys want to see is all the different opening methods and closing methods, I suppose, because that's kind of one of the biggest selling points of this knife is the fidget factor. So I'm going to try to show all of the ways that this knife can be opened. One is the thumb opening, and I'm not going to count like the thumb flick as a second one. I'm just going to say thumb opening is one. The second could be the index finger, like the spidey flick. Third one could be middle finger, spidey flick, so that's three. You could go with the thumb using the front flipper. You got to be careful though, because if your fingers down here in the path of the blade, which is kind of like a natural holding point, it won't open obviously. So you just got to be. It's best actually to grip the back of the pocket clip and then go. Yeah, I had to practice that one to be honest. In my opinion, is the hardest one, but that's the fourth one. Fifth one is use the front flipper with your index finger. So that's another one. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The sixth would be to use that. The seventh would be to do like the spidey drop. And then the eighth would be just to press the button and use like an inertial opening, which I don't normally do. I think maybe the index finger is my favorite index under opener, or the index on the back flipper. It is kind of cool that they made the two flippers symmetrical, but I think I would have preferred a flipper tab sticking out of the rear with kind of an upward hook to it, so you could really get some good torque on it, kind of like a Malibu. This being so high, you have to give it like a 45-degree angle pull down, and it is there is jimping on it, so that certainly helps. But if it was, I think, maybe not with the shape of this knife, but for most knives, I think being able to flick straight down on the spine of the knife is a little bit easier than doing a 45-degree. In any case, the detent does seem pretty damn good. I mean, it's not too heavy, it's not too light. I'd probably say it's perfect actually for this knife. It makes every opening method really good. How's the button? The button lock. It's just like any other button lock. Once you get the timing down, you could do it pretty consistently. Obviously, if the knife is being held completely vertically, it's not gonna drop, right? You have to hold it at least a little bit off to the side, and it'll drop. And once you get the timing down, you'll know when to release the button, because if you don't release the button, it'll just bounce, just like any other button lock knife. It is drop shutty. So yeah, this is a pretty fidgety knife. I still haven't timed the button exactly well. I think I'd have the Malibu timed a little bit better. But still though, I mean, it's definitely fun to, you know, fool around with. You know, if you want to sit at your desk and just fool around with this while you're working on something, while you're thinking, or just, I don't know, you're in the back seat of a car, I don't know, whenever people want to do stuff like this, this is a great knife for that, really. This might be, I probably would agree, this is the best fidget knife that I think I've ever felt. I think the flipping action on the Malibu and the dropping action on the Malibu is better, but this having so many options to open it, it's pretty hard to beat. I don't think there's anything else like that. You know, I looked at the Spyderco, oh boy, now I can't think of it. It actually looks somewhat like this knife, but it's a button lock. It's actually a compression lock Spyderco, but it's actuated by pressing a button rather than pushing the tab in. I think there's a little lever that you push in the button and it pushes out on, I don't know, it works somehow. Internally, it's a compression lock, but it's actuated by a button on the handle. And I will put the name of that knife in here. It looks somewhat like this knife. And it's one of the rare Spydercos that has a flipper tab. But it doesn't have a front flipper, right? So this still is the most methods. A lot of methods to open and close this knife. It's G10. G10 feels really good. It's not terribly grippy, but it's just grippy enough. I haven't used this knife a lot. As you can see, the blade is in pretty good shape. There's a couple smudges. Those are smudges, really. I didn't polish it up or oil it up before this video. It's S35VN. Great steel, you know, maybe the best all around for the money at least. There's jimping on the spine here. I don't really find a need to choke up like this though and put your thumb on top, because these 4 fingers are too far to the back. If there was a finger choil, this would make sense, but I think this is, my fingers are right at home here. I think it would have been cool if this point here was a little farther up, because I'm just getting all 4 of my fingers on here behind this area here, just barely getting it on. And the pocket clip, although it's a nice pocket clip and it's deep carry and the screws are accessible through that hole, and it is reversible, by the way, if you really give it a firm grip, the pocket clip really, look at here on my hand. You know, you could see the pocket clip. It's what I guess some people on YouTube call a hot spot. The pocket clip is definitely a hot spot. I'm considering putting it on this side actually, to see what that feels like. But this here, in my opinion, is wasted space on the knife. It's not a ricasso, because it's a button lock. You don't really need a ricasso. It's not a finger choil. So what is this? Why not? It would be more comfortable I think, if this area was shaved down and there was just not a ridge or whatever you want to call it, a finger stop here, so your fingers can't proceed. I want to choke up a half finger more on this knife. That's, I think, the only ergonomic thing about it, is that by forcing you to hold it so far to the rear, the pocket clip becomes a hot spot. And it would be better to choke up, if I could choke up more comfortably without, if I was using it in a hard use case, I would feel worried about my finger slipping off and touching the blade and getting bitten. But I guess that's about it. Real quick, about the box. It's actually a pretty impressive box. The boxes aren't really important. Most times I throw boxes away, especially Spydercos that I know I'm going to keep. Sometimes it's good to save these things for resale value. It's a very nice box, but you remember like buying like box sets of DVDs back in the mid-2000s, and it would be a box inside a box inside a box, wrapped in plastic inside a box, wrapped in plastic. It kind of had this Russian doll thing to this box that I dislike. I think I might have discarded part of it already, but that was the outer part. And then you have like this it kind of opens up again, but then you have more stuff in here. It's kind of reminds me of like a cell phone box that you get. Then more stuff in here. It also came in this pouch, which I thought was pretty cool. Pretty nice, actually. I mean, really, for the money, Benchmade doesn't have boxes this nice. Spyderco doesn't have boxes this nice. It even came with some spare screws. And what looks to be a pivot pin. with already some Loctite on those screws. That's awesome. That is putting in the effort, really, I have to say. I'm not sure if all Kizers are like that, but this one is an outside design. It's not an in-house design. And it came with, look at this. Came with a cleaning cloth and, you know, the kind of documentation that no one ever reads this stuff unless you want to warranty it. But job well done here by Kizer. This is not a cheap knife by any means, but that is pretty cool that they did that they gave you a pouch and a cleaning cloth. The pouch, you know, could actually come in handy one day if you want to carry this in your backpack, maybe, and you just don't want to let it bang around in there. Yeah, why not? This would be a good little... I would use this outside the box, honestly. Like, if I was going to carry this in a backpack, yeah, why not? And I guess it's kind of cool, you know, it folds up. So, no real complaints there. Job well done, Kizer. Great job.